Have you ever just stopped and wondered, why do we all seem to share the same reality? Especially when our own experiences can feel so different. It's a real puzzle, isn't it?
I mean, think about it. We can all watch the very same news story, see the same pictures, hear the same words, and walk away with completely opposite takeaways. How does that even happen?
And this goes way beyond the news. We can live in the same town, maybe even on the same block. And yet it can feel like we're inhabiting totally different worlds. Our realities just don't seem to line up. So if our personal perceptions are all over the map, why do we hold on to this idea that we all share one single reality? What is it that's holding the whole thing together?
Well, maybe the problem is how we're thinking about reality in the first place. What if it isn't some fixed, solid thing that we're all just looking at? What if it's something that's being generated? To get what that means, think about all the layers that make up our world. You have humans and the language we use to connect. You have our collective memory, our history, and all of that is floating in a constant stream of information. Each one is its own layer.
But here's the thing. These layers don't just sit there side by side. They overlap, they interact, they actually interfere with one another. And right where they meet, something new starts to take shape, a pattern.
This gives us a whole new way to define reality. It's not a solid thing. It's a stabilized pattern of meaning. It's kind of like ripples on a pond. When different waves cross over each other, they create these complex, steady patterns. Our reality is that pattern, created by all those layers interfering with each other.
And this idea completely changes how we see society, too. It's not just a collection of people. It's the stabilized field of meaning that we're all moving through, that shared pattern that we all help create. So here's the big shift. We tend to think that our shared reality is built on agreement, like we all got together and decided what's true. But this model suggests something else. It suggests it's built on stabilized repetition. And how does that work? Well, it's the repetition. The same phrases we hear over and over, the same stories our culture tells, the same assumptions we just make without a second thought. That constant repetition is what locks the pattern in place and gives our reality its stability. And after a while, that stable pattern just becomes so normal, so constant, that we don't even see it anymore. It becomes the background noise of our lives. It's just the things we assume are true. It becomes what we call common sense. You can see how this idea scales up, too. If an individual's own consciousness is a kind of interference pattern of thoughts and memories, then a society is just a more complex, layered version of that. And a whole civilization? That's a huge, incredibly deep interference pattern, built up over centuries. So, if reality isn't something we just look at from the outside, but instead a pattern that we are inside of, if we ourselves are just smaller patterns looking at a much, much bigger one, then that leaves us with one final big question. What are we actually seeing?